Okay, guys. So yesterday, what we did extract from files, right? Now, what we want to do is extract from database. But to do that, first we need to have a table in database, right? It should have some data inside it. So that's what is needed to actually start the extract with the database. Okay. So to do that, what we need is we need to have some basic understanding of what is a database and how to create a table and load the data into that table. Okay. So today's class is all going to be about SQL. Okay. You are going to learn the basics of SQL. You are going to learn the few commands in SQL which are going to help you to load the data, right? So let's quickly jump to that. So first thing, as I told you the other day while we were doing the installations, you need a service that needs to be up and running. If someone does not have that, then this is something that you need to have. Okay. So this PostgreSQL, this should be running on your machine. Okay. If someone is not, someone is having that issue, just please post on the group. Someone will help you for sure. Okay. So this is that service that needs to be run. Okay. So once you have this service running and you have dbeaver installed. Okay. So dbeaver is this application. You need to have this application installed on your machine. Okay. So for the first time, what you're going to do is you will get a pop-up screen like this. Okay. You will get a pop-up screen like this, which will ask you to connect to any of these databases. Okay. So these are all the databases that are out there, guys. Okay. What we are going to connect to is PostgreSQL because this is free of charge and we are going to use that. Okay. This is the application that we have installed, the PostgreSQL. Okay. When you click on it, you just say next and you will be given these things. Okay, you don't have to change anything here because all these things are going to be the same. All you need to give is your password. Okay, that's it. You have to give your password. So this is the same password that I asked you to remember when we were doing the installation of Postgres. Okay, because this is the same password that we are going to give in talent, we are going to give here, everywhere, it should be same. Okay, so I'll give my password that I gave, right? And once I do that, all I need to do is test connection. If you have given correct password and you have proper drivers, it is going to give you the connected details here. If you don't have proper drivers, it will throw an error actually. And then there, right, you will have to actually install the drivers. Okay, so here in the edit driver setting, you will get that option. And here you can basically get it from, it will give you an option to download directly from online Google, right? And that's how you can do that. Okay, guys, so these are the libraries basically, right? It will give you an option to download and update here, right? You just have to download them and that's it. You just click on OK and then again try to test the connection. Okay, if your password is correct, then everything should be fine because everything comes pre-filled. You don't have to change anything here. Okay, guys, everything clear till here? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So once that is done, you can just click on finish. And once you click on finish, you will get this Postgres and it will be green tick here. Okay. So that is how it is going to look like. You won't have this white page here. For that, you will have to click on SQL, right? This here SQL and just say open script or new script. Sorry, basically you will have to give new script. So just when you click on new script, it will open up a white window for you. This is the window where you are going to actually run your queries that I'm going to show you today. Okay, so I'll just close this quickly for now. You don't need that. And I'll come back to this query where I have returned few text and some details for you. Okay. So what is a database, guys? Now let's get started with this. Okay, so dbeaver thing is over. I'll quickly go back to when we start to write the queries. Okay, but for now, this is it, right? So what is a database? Okay, so database is nothing but a storage of data in a proper structured way. Okay, this is very important. Proper structured way. So database within a database, right? You cannot store things. I mean, randomly or blindly. Okay, you have to store them in a very proper and a very detailed manner. Right? Okay. So when what I mean by that is, let's say if your first column is ID, right? Then the value that you're going to get from the file from the first column should also be ID. Okay. You cannot put name there. If it is ID, you will have to put ID. If it is name, you will have to put name. You cannot put ID in the name. Okay. That's not allowed. So it is always in a proper structured way. Okay. That's what a database is. Right. Now, what are the examples of database? So there are many databases out there which are being used in business by different teams based on different scenarios or based on their business cases. Okay. What we are going to learn is PostgreSQL, which runs on SQL only, right? So all these databases, they run on SQL only. The language that they use, is SQL itself. Okay. So the things that you're learning, 80 to 90% of the things are going to remain same across all the databases. Okay. So it's not like that you are learning a PostgreSQL, so you don't know anything about Oracle. Okay. So 80 to 90% of the things, they remain the same, but then there are few special things that are special for particular databases. Okay. Those you can learn from Google, or you can just try to understand when you try to do things on a particular database. Okay. So these are all types of databases that you have here. Okay, Teradata, DB2, SQL Server, Oracle, Redshift, right? All these are the known ones. Okay. Now coming to what is the DB client tool or application. Okay. So this is actually a database, right? Database is nothing but a service that is running on your machine. Okay. Now to connect to that service, you need some application, right? So let's say this dbeaver application, what it is doing, it is connecting to this application service that is running on my machine. Okay. So to connect to that, what it needs the host, it needs the database name, username, password, and everything. Okay. So this application that connects to the database, okay, this application is not the database, guys. Okay. Always remember that. Many times in interviews, right, they ask you, is dbeaver a database? So the question is no. Okay. It's a DB client tool. Okay. It is helping you to connect to a database. Okay. It can help you to connect to 10 databases also, right? I mean, if I just connect here, and if I, let's say, connect to Oracle, right? I can connect to Oracle database. I'll just give the credits and it will get connected there. Okay. So this tool can help you to connect to multiple databases. It is not a database on its own. Clear, everyone? Guys, did you understand the difference between database and a database client tool?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. So now comes SQL. So what is SQL? Right? So if you store something in a database and you want to see what is there in the database, or you want to see what is the data in your table, then you are going to use SQL. So SQL is nothing but structured query language. Okay. It is used to query database. Query means asking a question. Okay. So the data is stored in your database. You are just going to ask question to the database like, okay, tell me what are the columns in this table. Tell me what is the data in this table. Tell me the table in the data in the table where the name is like this or the ID is like this or whatnot. Okay. So SQL is nothing but a simple query language, right? A structured query language, which is going to help you to get the answers of what is stored in the database. Okay. Now, again, coming to the analogy, right? So, like you have workspace, project, and jobs in Talent, right? Same analogy, similar analogy is true for database also. So, we have database. That's nothing but like your laptop. Okay. So, it's the database. Inside database, we can have multiple schemas. Like I told you, right? Inside a project, inside a workspace, you can have multiple projects. Same way, inside a database, you can have multiple schemas. Okay. So schemas are nothing but like folders, guys. Okay. And then table and views, these are nothing but like your files. So inside a folder, you will have files, right? So same way, inside a schema, you will have tables and views. Okay. Similar analogy, guys. So see, this is the database. So your database is nothing but PostgreSQL. Okay. Inside the database, you have multiple schemas. So if you see, right, I have created here multiple schemas. In your case, you will only have public here because that's the first time that you're doing, and then you can create multiple schemas. Okay. Now inside all those schemas, you will have tables. So let's say if I just take any this table, right? So let's say this is my schema that is called training. Inside that schema training, I have these many tables. Everyone understanding this analogy? Database, then schema, and then tables and views. Yes or no, guys? Hello, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, it's getting there.
Okay. Yeah, someone has a question? Any questions, guys, on this still here? Come on, guys, at least say no questions. Say something. Okay, this batch is very quiet. Okay, fine, guys. So, yeah, what you have is workspace first. Sorry, what you have is database first, right? Inside a database, you are going to have multiple schemas. Inside multiple schemas, you will have multiple tables. Okay, so finally, you are going to create tables and you're going to store your data inside the tables. Okay, for schemas, right, you can have different schemas like landing schema where you're just going to put your raw data. Then you can have transformation schema where you're going to create all your joins, calculations, and everything. Okay, and then finally you can have your data warehouse schema where you're going to finally load your tables, the final reporting tables, right, which are going to help you to give questions or answers to business. Okay, so you can have different schemas. So like right now I have created here a different schema for different batch. Right, today I'll create a schema for training 28. Right, so that way you can create your own schemas for different purposes. Okay, so now there is this link, guys. Okay, so on this link, the things are given. I mostly use that link to help people understand what are these and what are the commands in SQL. So this is a good chart here. Okay, so I'll make you understand all of this in a very simple and easy way. Okay, we will do all of them. But if you see here, right, what happens in SQL, there are some types of commands. Okay, so the basic differences or criteria in these commands is what they do or what they try to do. So first is DDL, data definition language, then is data manipulation language, transaction control language, data query language, and data control language. Okay, so these are the full forms of these. So DDL, data definition, DML, data manipulation, TCL, transaction control, DQL, data query, DCL, data control. Okay, what they do, how they do, you will remember these things automatically. Okay, you just need to understand what each of these do. Okay, so we'll start with few, right? I'll come to this and then we will start with few, right? So the first that we have is data definition language. So I'll just quickly open up one file that I have that will help you to understand the things. Okay, so let's come here and just try to understand this, right? So now if I come to this, let me quickly put this way. Okay, okay, guys, so the first thing that we have is data definition language. So definition means, right, you're not going to actually do anything with the data. Okay, data means the values, right, that are there inside the table, right? So let's say I have, like, I want to store a table employee. Okay, so employee is my table, right? Now the definition of the table means what? That this table will have four columns. Okay, what are those four columns? The columns will be employee number, employee name, salary, and designation. What will be there in employee number? It will be integer. What will be name in employee name? It will be string. What will be salary? It will be double or float. What will be designation? It will be string, right? So I am telling you the details about how my table is going to look like. Okay, my table name is employee. The column names are employee number, employee name, salary, and designation. The data type are integer, string, again double float, or string, right? So these definition things of my table is nothing but that is data definition language. So you're not talking about the data here. Okay, there is no discussion about the data. What I store inside it, that is a different thing, right? That is the actual data. If I say here employee number one, some different name, some salary, and some designation, right? So this is my data, right? Everyone, do you understand the difference between the data and then the table name and table details? Did you
Yes.
get that point?
Yes.
Everyone?
Yes. Yeah, got it.
Yes. So anything that talks about the structure of your table, right? What columns are going to be there, what definition is going to be there, what data type it is going to be there, is it going to be a primary key, foreign key, or whatnot, right? All that type of information is nothing but data definition, because there you're defining what you have to do. Okay. Now comes the data manipulation. So manipulation means the actual data related things, right? So if I put an entry here, right? If I do this like one and then this and then some salary and then some designation. So what I did is now the table was already there, right? The structure was already there. What I did is I filled in the values inside it, right? So that is nothing but data manipulation. Everyone understanding that? The difference between data definition and data manipulation? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Right? So if I add more rows here, so I am adding more data to it, right? So if I do that, that is also nothing but data manipulation. I'm making the manipulation on the data actually. Let's say if I want to update the salary, so I'm updating this salary. Let's say I want to change this salary to this much, right? So that is also nothing but data manipulation, right? So anything that you do here, or let's say I want to delete this row, right? I'm deleting the data, so I'm playing with the data. So if I play with the data, that means it is data manipulation. Okay, creating the structure or dropping the structure or changing the structure, that is nothing but the data definition language. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear with these two, because these two are the major ones that you are going to get in your interviews. Okay. So now let's do these queries one by one so that you understand like what they are actually going to do, and then we will also understand why they are in data definition and data manipulation. Okay, you will only start giving the answers, right? Because if you understand this concept that I've explained you, right, that will help you understand that. Okay, so let's come to this. So now the explanation, right? Data definition language. So the create statement, the drop statement, alter statement, truncate statement, and rename statement, right? All of these statements, they help in defining the structure of your table. Okay. So let's say if I create, right? If I want to create a database, so database itself is just like I am creating something where I'm going to put in my tables, right? So it's just giving me the definition. It's not about the actual values inside the data, right? So create statements come under data definition language. Now then there is drop. Drop means whatever you have created, you want to drop that. So basically you are removing that from the system. So you can drop the table. Let's say you created one table and then you don't want that table anymore. So you are going to drop the table. Then alter means, let's say you created a table, but you want to add one extra row to it or extra column to it. Sorry, not row. Okay. So let's say this was my table already, right? And now I want to alter it. Alter it means, let's say, right? Altering the clothes. The same way altering the table. Okay. So let's say you want to now add here department name also. Okay. So there is one more column that you want to add into the table. Okay. So this is nothing but the alter. Okay, so you are altering the table by adding one more column into that particular table. So see guys, again here, right? I'm not talking about the data, right? I hope you are understanding that difference. So I'm not talking about my data still. I'm talking about what column structure and what table structure it is going to be. That's why this will go under data definition language. The alter will go under data definition language. Everyone clear till here? Create, drop, and alter. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now, next what we have is truncate. And this truncate and delete, right? These two are a bit confusing. So what I will do is when I go to data manipulation and try to teach you delete, right? I'll explain you what the truncate also does. But truncate, you can just remember it is going to remove all the records in your table. That's it. So what it does is it creates the clean slate. Okay. It actually touches your data, but then it does not differentiate between them. It just blindly deletes, no, truncates everything from the table along with its metadata. Okay, so you cannot even get it back. So I'll explain you that in detail when I teach you the delete part of it. Okay, but just understand that if you do a truncate on a table, that means it's done and dusted. You cannot ever get it back. Okay, it's just completely wiped out from the system. That's why it goes under data definition language, because this cannot be rolled back. You cannot get the history again. Okay, so delete will do what it, sorry, truncate will do what it will remove all the records that are there in your table. Let's say you had 20 million records in your table, right? If you run a truncate statement, it is going to remove everything from your table. Okay, only the table structure will be remain. That's it, nothing else. Clear, guys? What does a truncate do?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now let's quickly come to data manipulation language. So data manipulation means actually changing things in the data. Okay, so let's say if I am putting one row, that means I am doing nothing but an insert. Okay, so insert is nothing but the place where we actually put the records into the table. So that's why insert is a data manipulation language. We are manipulating our data inside the table, right? We are adding new record. So that is nothing but a data manipulation language, right? Then comes your delete. Delete, what you can do, let's say I had two rows here, right? So let's say I had some data here and I want to remove one specific row, right? Let's say I don't want this data. So then what I can do is I can delete where employee number is equal to 1. So if I do that, this data will go off. Okay, so that's what your delete does. So delete can also help you to delete everything, but then you can get things back because delete maintains history. Okay, so until and unless you commit it, right, delete maintains history. So if you need, you can get the data back that you have deleted. So let's say I want this data back, so I can get it back if you're deleting it. But if you truncate it, right, guys, truncate is not going to remove one row for sure. It is going to remove everything. First of all, that's the main difference. And then it will not even save any history. Once gone, that means it's completely gone. You cannot get that back again. Okay, guys. So delete can help you to remove one row at a time, right? It can do that. And delete can also help you to remove everything. That can also be done. But this option, right, that you have here is for uh, deleting only one thing at a time. Manu, can you please stop annotating? Okay, right? So that's the delete thing. Then what you have is update. Update means, let's say I want to change this guy's name to something. So what I can do is I can update a value. Okay, that option is available. So you can, let's say this data is already there in the table and you want to update the name. You want to give the name here, let's say Raj, right? So where employee ID is 2, you can update the name to something. Let's say the department that you wanted to give is IT. Okay, so you can do that. Let's say here you want to go and update the employee name again. So let's say you want employee name as Nikhil. Okay, so you can go and update that. So that is nothing but your update query. Okay, let's say designation now is HR. So you can give the HR. So these things can be updated by using the update query. Everyone clear with this? Data
Yes.
manipulation and data definition language, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything, just remember, anything that changes the data will fall under data manipulation. Anything that changes the structure of your table will go under data definition. Okay, just remember that difference, then you can automatically remember what is what and what falls under what. Okay, so let's come to this and write some queries. Okay, so let's start writing queries. I'll explain you what is these things, right? TCL, DCL, everything will explain you. But let's now start writing some queries. Okay. So I'm going to give you all of these things. Okay, so don't worry on that. You don't have to write it right now. I'm going to paste all of this in the chat. Okay, so you can save it with you forever. Okay, don't worry on that. Just focus and pay attention right now in the class. All that hands-on you want to do, right? You can do it when you get the video. Okay. So in SQL, right? As I told you, this is nothing but a structured query language. So that means you cannot write anything anywhere. Okay. There is a format that you have to write. It's not that hard. Okay. It's very easy. I'll explain you in such a way that it becomes very easy for you to learn. Okay. So for everything, right, it is called a syntax. Syntax means I can only write create database and then the database name. Okay. I cannot write create database name and then the database. No, this is wrong. Okay. It will not run and it will throw an error. Okay. You have to make sure that you write it in this particular order only. Okay, guys. Did you understand what does it mean by a syntax?
Yes.
Okay. The syntax means you have to write things in that particular order only, right? Those words. If you change that order, then it is not going to work. Okay. So in our cases, right, guys, the database, right, this Postgres database, it is already going to give us one database. So you don't have to actually create a database because it's already created. So you can actually skip this step, but still, if you are going to work in some project, right, you would still want to know that, okay, there is a way to create a database. So this is that syntax. Okay. So inside this database name, you can change to anything. Let's say if I want to create a database for development, right, you can just select this query here and then run it. Okay. Once you run it, it will execute this thing and a database will be created for you. Okay. In our case, the database is already created, so we don't need to create it. Okay. Once you install the application, right, that is this one by default database will be there for you. Okay. So this database is already there. If you want to, you can still create it and drop it. So let's say if I want to create it, you can create it like this. Okay. So it says that the database is created. Okay. Now, let's say if you don't want the database, let's say for any chance you want to drop the data. So the syntax for dropping the database is drop database and then give the database. Okay, so these are nothing but the syntaxes, guys. These are for your memory, right? And then you can change things based on whatever. So let's say whatever database I created, right? I want to drop it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and drop this. So if I run this query, it is going to be dropped. Okay. So let's say if I create a database again, right? And if I try to drop the database of a different name, right? So it will throw me an error that there is no such database, right? It tells me an error that there is no such database. Okay. So always make sure whatever the names that you are giving, right? It needs to be very, very clear. Okay. Again, this is not what you say case sensitive. Okay, even if I'm writing B here capital, right, it will become small only. But if I still want it to be capital, I will have to double quote it. Okay. If you give the names in double quotes, then they will be exactly as they are. So if you see, right, this smart staging, this is in capital because I gave that in double quotes. Rest all whatever I give, right, it all comes under small letters. Okay. So if you don't give double quotes, then everything will be in small letters, even if you write here in capital. Okay, even if I write here in capital, it will still be in small letters. Everyone understanding that point? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so these syntaxes are also not insensitive. You can give it in small letters, that is also fine, no problem. Okay, so this is first thing that you create of a database. Okay, so database now you already have, so you don't have to worry about. We can start from schema. Okay, so create schema and schema name. This is the syntax. You just have to remember this. Okay, now what we have to do is, let's say this time I want to create the schema for 28 batch. So what I can do, create schema, and then I'm saying training 28. So right now, if you see, right, there is no schema with 28. If I just run this, okay, it will say that it is done, but still it won't show up here. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to right click and refresh. Now, if you do that, right, you will be able to see the schema. So schema, as I told you, is nothing but a folder. Okay. Now all the tables that I'm going to create from now on are going to be inside this particular folder. Okay, guys. So now let's say I will just quickly show you by dropping it also. So let's say I want to drop this schema that I have created, right? So the simple query is drop schema. That's it. Very simple. Okay. So if I run this, it is going to drop from here. If I refresh it, right, it will be gone. If I refresh, that is gone. Okay. So I'll quickly create it again. I'll keep it and I'll create all the tables for this batch here itself. Okay. So now this is there. If you see inside that, there are no tables, no views, nothing. Everything is blank. Right here, if I show you, there are some tables that we created on that particular day. Okay. So you will be able to see the tables once you start creating the tables. Okay. So everyone clear till creation of schema also? Any questions here? No? Okay. Now comes your create queries. Okay. So create query for a table, right? So you want to, let's say, create a table, right, for employees, right? I'll just quickly do that only. I'll just remove this query and I'll show you like how to do it from the scratch. Okay. So this is the syntax that you have to remember. Okay. I'll try to explain you in such a way that you don't even need to memorize it, but let's start doing it. Okay. So for the first time, I would always request when you are creating or writing any query, right, just copy paste the syntax that I have given and then start changing on top of it. Okay. If you start doing that, right, you will be able to easily modify the query into what you want it to be. Okay. So in our case right now, I want to create a table and the table name and the schema name, right? So schema name is what, guys? Can anyone tell me what is the schema name that I want to keep?
Training 28_28.
Right. So this is now my schema name. So every time I am going to keep this schema name. Okay. Wherever you see, right, schema name written, you are going to replace it by training 28 because this is the schema that I have created. Okay. And here is all the tables that I want to create. Okay. Now let's say I want to create this table only that I was showing. Okay. This is the table that I want to create for you. Okay. Let's say this complete table, right? So, okay, let's not do this right now. I'll just add it with the alter. Okay. So that you understand that as well. So we'll create this table and then we will later on add with the alter. Okay. So this is my table now, right? So how many columns are there in my table? Employee number, employee name, salary, and designation. What is my table name? It is employee. Okay. So what table name should I give here? Employee. Okay. So employee is my table name. So training 28.employees. So this is my schema name. Inside this schema, I want this table to be created. Okay. So create table schema name dot table name. Okay. If you don't give the schema name, it will automatically go to the public schema. Okay. By default, if you, let's say, forget to give a schema name, right, it goes to public schema. Okay. But we don't keep things in public because that's a, I mean, like it's a public thing, right? We don't want to keep it there. We always want to create proper folders and then save our data. Okay. So that's why we will create it in our training 28. Now, what are the column names? So the first column name that we have is employee number, the EMP number. Okay. That's what I want. Now, what is the data type for that? So as you were doing it in talent, right? In talent, do you remember the schema section? You had to give the column names and you had to give the data type also, correct? Right. Yesterday also we did that. Guys, do you remember the schema section?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, right? So same way in create queries also, since all of this is related, right? You have to be very structured, right? So same way, if it is an employee number, it is going to have integer value. So you have to give integer as the data type. Okay. I'll give you a link for the data types also. 1 second quickly. Do I have it here? Okay. I'll give you the links to get all the data types for SQL. Okay. Data types in Postgres. Okay. You can have with example also if you want to, but this is the link. Okay. This is the PostgreSQL page. Okay. There they give all the data types, whatever are there. Okay. So these are all the data types that we can use. So for now, what we want is we want to use integer. Okay. So integer, what we can use, we can give int, int. Okay. For strings or anything, right, we are going to use varchar. Varchar is nothing but variable length character. Okay. So you don't write string directly, you write varchar. Okay. In SQL. So I'll quickly come here and I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So first was what? Employee number. Second is what? Employee name. Okay. So EMP underscore name. Okay. Again, what is the data type for this? It is string, right? So string works in Talent, but in SQL and at least in PostgreSQL, you will have to give it as varchar.
Back.
Okay. Varchar is nothing but variable length characteristic. Okay. So now if I come back here, I will give the data type as varchar. Okay. And then after varchar, right, you can give the length also. Let's say the employee name that I want should not go beyond 100 letters. So I can give it this way. For integer, mostly it's not needed because integer can take max like 4 digits or 8 digits max, not more than that. So there is restriction on that, but still you can give it if you want to. You can say int 4 or int 8, but if you don't give anything, by default also it takes it. Okay, these is the second column. So after comma, again I can now give the third column. So what is my third column? Salary. Okay, so salary. Now salary is what? Again, it is a decimal, right? So I can give it as a double. Okay, or I can give it as a float, whatever I want. If both of this will work. Okay, salary, and then what is the next column? Designation. So designation. Okay, now designation, again it is going to be string. So
Varchar.
in SQL we are going to give it as varchar. Okay, again I want my designation, it should not go beyond 50 letters, right? Because the designation, I think it should not be that big of a name. Okay, so that's it. Okay, if I after this I don't want any column, right? So I'm not going to put comma. Okay, if you want any extra column after that, you are going to keep giving commas. Okay, so this is how your query is going to be for create statement of a table. Okay, so guys, this is not a rocket science. You don't need to by heart it. Okay, always remember that. If you understand it, it's going to be easy. If you try to by heart it, then things are going to get difficult. Okay, because by hearted things can be forgotten, but an understandable thing, right? You're not going to forget it. Okay, so this is your query. Now, if I just select it, and every SQL query, right, guys, should end with a semicolon. Okay, that's very important. So make sure you do that. And now this query, right, it is under this brackets. You have to give it under the brackets. Okay, so create table schema name dot table name and then the brackets. Okay, now I can select this and run this query. So once I run this query, right, it will show me that okay, everything is green. If this comes as green, right, that means it's done. Okay, so if I come here and if I refresh it again, right, I will be able to see my table. So this is my table. If you see here, right, this is the table with all of these columns. So it automatically created my table for me. Okay, now if I want to get the data from this table, okay, like I mean, what is there in this table? So for that, what we need is we need data query language. Query language is, as I told you, right? Query is nothing but a question. So I want to ask the question to the database regarding this table. So for that, we are going to use select queries. Okay. So select queries, again, let me just come to that. So that is nothing but this data query language. So data query language is like this. So you are going to write select whatever column names you want, right? You are going to give that column name from schema name dot table name. Okay. So in our case, what is it? I'll just rewrite it again. Okay. So as I told you, right, for the first time, always try to copy what I have given, right? And then try to do things over there. Okay. So if I copy this and if I see this here, so select what is my first column name, guys? Employee number, right? What is my second column? Employee name. What is my third column? Salary. Oh, sorry. Salary, right? And what is my fourth column name? That is designation. Okay. And from which table, guys? From this table, right? Schema name is this and table name is this. Okay. So this is my query. So if I run this query right now, it is going to show me just the structure because I have not put in the data, right? Correct. I've just created the table, right? That's why create is the data definition language, guys. It has just given the definition to the table. The data is still not there inside it. Everyone understanding this? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
If there would have been some data inside this, right, it would have shown up with this query itself. I don't have to change anything in this query. If there is data in this table, this query will give me that. Okay, but right now, since there is no data, it is not going to give me anything. Okay, So let's now quickly just do this drop table also. So let's say I have created this table, right? It is still blank, but I want to just remove that table. I don't want this table anymore. So I can just do this drop table schema name dot table. Okay, so if I do that, it's gone. If I just refresh it here, right, the table is not there. If I now try to run this select query, this will also give me error because the table is deleted. Okay, guys, clear till here?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll run this create statement again so that I have the table again, right? Now we will go to the second. Let me remove all of these. These are not needed anymore. Okay, we will just do the insert now. One second, did we have a drop syntax here? Right, okay. Now let's do the insert phase. Okay, so we have created the table. That's the first step. Now we want to insert some values into that particular table. That's the second step. Okay, so now how to insert? So this is the query for insert phase. Okay, again, it will look like it's difficult and all of that, but it's actually not. I'll explain you in such a way that it's going to be super easy for you. Okay, so this is the syntax for insert. So if you come here, right, again, as I told you, just copy paste my syntax for the first time, and then slowly and steadily you will be able to remember and understand this. Okay, so what you have to write, the syntax is insert into, this is important, then schema name dot table name. So what is my schema name dot table name? This is my schema name dot table name. Okay, right? Now what are the columns where I want to put the data? So these are all my columns, right? These are all my columns where I want to put the data. So I'll just copy paste all the column names inside this bracket. Okay, so I am inserting data into what? Into these columns. Okay, everyone clear till here?
Yeah.
Yes. Now what I want to put, I want to put the values. Now which values that I'm going to put here. Okay, so let's say first row you can give here, second row you can give here, third row you can give here, and so on and so forth. You can give all as many rows as you want. Okay, so for the first time, let's do only one row. Okay, and then we will do the other. So now I want employee number. The employee number is a number, right? I can directly write it. I don't want to give it in double quotes or single quotes. Okay, same thing in talent, right? So in talent, if it is a number, you are going to give it directly, right? But if it is a string or a varchar, right, you are going to give in double quotes in talent, but in SQL you are going to give it in single quotes. Okay, so let's say what's the employee name? I am giving my name, so Tyagi here, right? That's my value. Now what is my salary? So again, salary is a number, so I'll give some number here. That's it. Okay, now comma, again my designation. So designation, I am a teacher. Okay, so this is the record that will enter into my table. Okay, so if I run this query now, right, it will insert one row into my table. Now again, right, I want to see what is there in my table. What should I run, guys?
Select
I want to
star.
ask a question, right? So when you want to ask a question, it is going to be data query language. So you are going to again run this query. So if I now run this query, I will be able to see my record. Everyone, is that clear?
Yeah.
Yep. So this way you can insert the data into your table. Okay. Let's say now I'll just remove this from here. I want to insert some more rows. Let's just say, okay, I'll just keep this side, right? Now I'll just modify this row again to put some multiple rows. Okay. So I'll guys just take some random names from the chat here. Okay, whatever comes. So first is, let's say, Avinash, right? So I'm taking Avinash here. He has some salary, right? Whatever it might be. And let's say he is right now a student. So I'll just keep as a student. Okay, that's one row done. Right now I want to give the data for the second row. So I can just do here a comma after bracket and I can start giving the second row also. That's quite possible. Okay, now let's say I want for Mirza, right? And then let's put some, okay, so again salary, right? So salary will be a figure directly. Okay, he's earning in dollars, guys. Let's give him more. Okay, yep. So let's say he is a professional, maybe, right? Whatever. Okay, so that's the second row. Now let's say I want one last row. So I'll take Let's say Renuka. Oh, sorry. So 4 first and then Renuka. Okay. So that mistake you cannot make, guys. Okay. You cannot change the order because the order should be exactly this way. Okay. Whatever you are writing here, right? That should be the order. You can change this order. Okay. You can keep employee name first. That is possible. But if you keep employee name first, right, then here the name should come first. Okay. So whatever you write here, the order, the same order is needed here also. Okay. That is important. Okay, guys, always remember that. So I'll give some salary here, right? And then I'll say she is again, let's say, student. Okay. So now this is my table. I can insert more data into my table. So if I insert it, the rows will be inserted. Again, I want to check my data. So I can go here and check my data. Okay, guys. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, understood everyone how to insert the data into the table? Anyone, any questions here? Any questions, guys, from
No.
anyone? Do you find it difficult? Is it easy?
Straightforward.
Right? Okay, cool. So now let's go on and learn few more queries so that you are able to, let's say now what happens, right? You did a mistake. Okay. You inserted this data 2 times into the table, right? So if I now select it, I will see the same data multiple times, right? If you see, I have now more rows in the same data, more rows multiple times in the table. There are 2 ways to solve this. One is either you drop the table, create it again, and then insert it again, right? That's one way. Or you can simply do is just truncate the data. So truncate will do what? It will remove everything from your table. So truncate table, schema name dot table name. As I told you, right? Truncate will remove everything from your table, whatever is there. If I run this, data is gone. It will show 0 here, guys, but still it will remove everything. Okay. So if I now just go here and query this, it will be blank as how it was after a create statement. Okay, guys. So then you can insert your data again. Clear? Yes or no, guys?
Yeah.
Understood what truncate does?
Yes.
Right? Drop, I have already told you. Right? Drop, if you do, along with the data, if you do drop, still it will remove everything. Okay. So no worries on that part. It will remove everything that is there in your data. Okay, guys. So these are some queries that I wanted you to know as of now, right? We will do few more queries at some later point of time, or maybe I'll do some here. But these where conditions I'll teach you after I teach you the T filter row. Okay, so there you will understand it. Delete also we will do after that. Let's do some alters. Okay, these are the queries that we can do now, and all those, right? Don't worry on anything. I'll come back to all the queries. Okay. So let's now do the alter query. The alter table, right? What did I tell you? Alter is going to do what? It is going to add or remove columns or change the data types and stuff, right? So it's not related to the data. It's related to the column structure or the definition of the table. Everyone remembers that, right? What alter does? I gave you the example of adding a column here, right? Department. So let's do that. Okay. So this is the query for adding new column into the table. Okay. So alter can do multiple things, guys. It can drop a column, it can rename a column, it can rename the table name. There are many things that alter can do because this is just one query that can help you change many things in your definition. Okay. So let's say I have created my table, right? My table is in what? Training 28. Right. If I just refresh it, I'll be able to see my table here. Right. So this is my table. So inside this training 28, I have table employee, right? Let's say I want to add a column of department ID. Okay. Now, if you want to add a column, right, guys? So as when you create a column, you have to give a data type. Same way, when you add a column, you will have to give the data type. Okay. That is needed. So this is the query that you can run, which will now do what? It will add the value to my table. So if I see here, can you see now? Department ID is also added, right? So if I now run the select query, right? Okay, in the select guys, I did not yet teach you the star. So if you don't want to give the exact column names, right? And you want everything that is there in the table, you can actually put a star instead of column names. Okay. So if you write this query, select star from this table, it will give you everything that is there in that table. Okay, you don't have to specifically tell something. Now I have added a column, right? That's why this column is blank and everything is like null here. Okay, but you can see, right, a column is added into your table, right? And the data is not changed at all. So it's like a data definition language and not manipulation language. Are you getting it, guys?
Yeah.
Addition of column. Any doubts, anyone?
No.
Any questions, guys?
Okay.
Guys, are you understanding it well or you're not getting it at all? What is the scenario? Everyone? It's clear, right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so this way you can add a column, right? While adding a column, always make sure you give the data type, okay? Because if you don't and try to add, right, it will throw an error, okay? So don't make that mistake, right? Then comes dropping the column, right? Let's say we created a column here, right? And we want to drop the column, right? So, right, let's say you want to drop that column. So this is the column that we create. And here I am trying to drop IDs, okay? So if I try that, right, it won't work. First, I should give the proper table name. So training 28.employees, this is my table name. And let's say this is the column that I'm trying to drop. Do I have this column? No, right? So it will say that this column does not exist in the table. Okay. If you make a spelling mistake or something, right, it won't work. It will throw an error. But if I try to do this, it will drop that. Now, if I do the select star again, right, that column will not be there in the table. If I refresh this, here also it will go up. Right, that column went up. Clear, guys? How to add and remove a column if needed?
Yes.
Yes. If you by mistakenly created a column and then you want to remove that, you can remove that also. Okay. You can do that anytime. Now coming to renaming the column name. So let's do one thing. Let's add the column again. Right. We'll add this column again. Right. This is the column now there in my table. So if I run this query, I will be able to see that column here. Okay. Now what I will do is I'll rename this column department ID to department IDS. Okay. So this is the query for that. So alter table, schema name dot table name, rename column. Here it was drop and add column, right? Here it is rename column. And then whatever is your new old column to new column. Okay. Right. These things are self-explanatory, guys. You just need to remember, or you can always Google. You just need to remember that there is a query that can rename my column. Right. If you just remember that, you can simply put it on Google and just find that out. Right. It's super easy. Right. If I just say query to rename the column in Postgres. Right. If I just put that, it will give me random 100 examples of how to do it. Right. See, it's alter table name, rename column, this to this. Right. You will be able to get that. So all you need to remember in these queries is that yes, there is one query that can help me to rename the column. Okay. Even if you forget, right, what is the syntax, Google is always there with you. Right. I hope everyone is getting that. So if I run this query and if I run this again, right, it will be changed to IDS. Okay. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's say I want to remove that column. So I'll drop that column with proper name IDS. I can remove that. Okay. So again, there is no column. If I come back and refresh it here, nothing is going to change because that column is gone. Okay. So now last thing for today, this is renaming the table name. Okay. So this again is very simple. Alter table, schema name, old table name, rename to new table name. Okay. So whatever is your table, let's say this is my table, right? This is my table name and I want to rename it to, let's say, EMP, small name. Okay. So I can just run this. So once I run this table is actually changed now. So if I refresh it, right, it has become EMP small. Okay. Now if I try to run this select query, right, it is not going to give me any output. So it will say that there is no such table because that table is gone. Okay. Clear, guys? how to change the table name. If I now want to try to get that table, I'll have to give that exact name and this will work. Okay,
Yes.
clear? I'll again rename it back to how it was so that we have it. Okay, and these are the things, guys. So that's it for today. I mean, we will do more things tomorrow. We will first extract the data, right? And then we will insert the data. Now, what is the assignment for you? I'm going to ping you or basically give you structures like this. Okay, I'll give you structures like this for 4 different tables, right? I want you to create those 4 different tables on your own. Okay, create a schema, only one schema, let's say training 28, and inside that schema you are going to create those 4 tables and put entries also. Okay, so what are you going to do? First, you are going to create the table and then you are going to insert the data into that table. Okay, so these are the 2 things that you are going to test, and then you are going to run some select queries also to see how your data is. Okay, make mistakes, truncate the table or drop the table, create the table again, do those all kind of things. Okay, just keep doing or trying these things, then only you will be able to understand and remember this. Okay, guys, clear?
Yes.
Clear, sir.